I think one of the biggest issues that people have when they hear this, and I know that I had a long time ago when I first heard this, was I don't have enough to do anything with. And so I remember when I started hearing about crypto specifically, like very early on, like I probably heard about it like maybe like 13 years ago, probably the first time. Yeah, I was very early heard about cryptocurrencies about 12, 13 years ago. And I had just come out of the monastery, so I didn't have any money. Like I didn't have anything to invest. And probably in about a year, I probably would have had like 1,000 to invest. In my head, I go, that's not anything. What's that going to do? Yeah. Right? And I think a lot of people have that mindset where they're like, I only have $500. I only have $1,000. Like, what can I do with that? I might as well spend it on whatever it is or I'm going to save it because I need it for a rainy day. What does someone do when they have that mindset, when they're like, I don't have enough? How do you approach that?
So when I was in high school, I really wanted a Ford Mustang, but my dad was like, no, we can't buy a Ford Mustang. I wasn't going to get that car. But this is, again, when stock prices had crashed. And the next best thing, if I couldn't buy a Ford Mustang, and I started reading the business books then, was how about I buy some of the Ford stock? Again, I didn't have a lot of money. My first investment in the Ford stock was $2 because that's how much the stock was trading for. Now it's much higher, but what I'm trying to get at is, you can start with a very little amount of money. I mean, nowadays with the new age of stock brokerages, if you have $10, you can start buying this type of equity. You can start building this type of equity. But the key now is the consistency and how often, like doing it all the time. Because when I say consistency, people say, oh, anytime I have $100. Well, okay, what you want to do by consistency is make it automatic. Anytime you get paid, take a portion of that money and automatically invest it. Now, the next question is probably, where do I put this money? Do I just throw it into Tesla or Amazon? Well, if you're not willing to do that level of research, where you don't want to try to find the best companies, you don't want to invest in real estate, you don't want to get into the more, let's say the more advanced type of stuff. You want to just put your money to work. Well, the simplest thing you can do is look at something called an ETF, which is an exchange traded fund, which gives you exposure not to one company, but many companies, maybe hundreds of companies. For example, there's something called the S&P 500, which is a group of the 500 biggest companies on the stock market, essentially the 500 biggest companies in America. You can invest in the S&P 500 by investing in just one symbol. So you invest in this one thing and you're getting exposure to 500 different companies. Now you don't have to worry about what each of these 500 companies are doing. You're just investing essentially in America, the future of the American economy. If that's something you believe in, well, now every time you get paid, put in $100. And now you just do this for the long term, whether the market is up or down, does not matter. It should not change your strategy. You just keep passively investing your money, make it automatic, make it passive. That way you don't have to even worry about it. And now you just keep building it up, because now it's the whole idea of compounding. You don't want to just throw your money in at once. You want to put a little bit of money and let that grow, put more money and let that grow, put more money in and let that grow. I made a couple of videos where I talked about two people. One was a janitor, one worked in a school. Both of them made very little income, yet both of them retired very wealthy. And the reason, and I'm talking about in the millions of dollars, and the reason why they've been able to retire with $1 million plus was because they took a little bit of money every time they got paid and they just invested that money. It did not matter, what else was going on in the world. They always paid themselves first. They always invested in assets before they started going out and buying things that made them look rich. Every single time. And when you put that little bit of money to work, whether you're starting with $25 or $250 or $1,000, when you put that money to work and you do that consistently over time, you can build real wealth. I mean, if you look at a compound calculator, a few $100s a month compounded from the age of 21 to 65, getting an average rate of return. I mean, we're talking about millions, but it just starts with making that small investment first and being consistent with it and always being willing to learn.